Good evening to you. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure for you to join us and create time to catch the latest on this bulletin. We usher you into the new month with a lot that has been making headlines in the country. The changes in the security detail of the Deputy President still remain the thorny issue in the country. We got details about what the Interior Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, had to say when he appeared before the National Assembly and Administration and National Security Committee today, plus other matters contained in our comprehensive news bulletin.
And of course, when you talk about security, we'll also talk about the volatile north. Let's talk about Laikipia County, for example, where illegal herders and what you call bandits have been wreaking havoc in Laikipia County. And because the minister was talking about security, we also have the Member of Parliament for Laikipia North, Sarah Korere, tonight, and we'll be speaking about the problem in Laikipia, as it were. And of course, you would understand because of the continuing drought, it has exerted a lot of pressure on people who, are called herders or farmers for that matter. And we'll be talking about that in relation to the insecurity we are seeing in Laikipia. That conversation is coming up a little bit later on Extra Mile. But first things first, here are tonight's highlights.
There has not been any downgrade of the security of the Deputy President, period. The law is clear, the record is there. The state churches and state houses that are supposed to be protected by GSU. The residence of the Deputy President is neither a state lodge nor a state house.
Guarded to the teeth, Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i says Deputy President has 257 security officers at his disposal.
Ruai Family Hospital B and is hereby suspended as COVID-19 vaccination center.
Brakes applied. Ruai Family Hospital stopped from administering COVID-19 vaccines after license is reinstated.
I'm going to go a step further to ask the teachers to accept the children without uniform so that we can deal with the uniform when they are at school.
And a school uniform should not be a factor. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha says Form 1s must report even without uniform. Once again, welcome. At KBC Channel 1 is our social media handle. Use the hashtag Prime Edition to interact with us. My name is Serfine Achieng Ouma, and our sign language interpreter tonight is Anne Wangeshi.
My name is John Jacob Kioria. Welcome to the bulletin. Now, Interior and Coordination of National Government Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i says the security detail of the Deputy President, Dr. William Ruto, was rearranged and not withdrawn as widely reported.
Dr. Matiang'i, who appeared before the National Assembly, Administration and National Security Committee, further revealed that the Deputy President has the largest number of security officers attached to him than any other previous holder of the office. Have a look.
Wednesday morning saw the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i honoring summons by the National Assembly Committee on Administration and National Security. Dr. Matiang'i, who was accompanied by the ministry's top brass, assured Deputy President Dr. William Ruto's security is intact.
It's not just a matter of national security, it's also a matter of our national pride. It is also a matter of the image of the country. Because if the security of number 2 in command is an issue of concern, then it means we are actually a bunch of jokers.
The CS dismissing claims Ruto's security was downscaled, saying he is the most guarded hold of the office since independence.
The protection unit that protects His Excellency the Deputy President from the presidential escort of 74 people is intact. No one touched it. And for the first time since independence, and I've demonstrated you since Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, I've demonstrated you this is the time it is the highest level of qualification in terms of command.
According to Dr. Matiang'i, 51 other officers are attached to 10 other properties belonging to the Deputy President.
The gazettement of state lodges is very clear. The law is clear. The record is there. The state churches and state houses that are supposed to be protected by GSU. The residence of the Deputy President is neither a state lodge nor a state house. Sasa mimi nafikiri hapo, Mr. Chairman, ni sawa.
The CS further informed the Peter Mwathi-led committee that no decision is made without deliberations.
For the IG, the rearrangement is a quasi-routine assignment. And then this is not something for which I would write a letter to His Excellency the Deputy President. Or why would I write a letter about then I would be writing 10 or 15 letters, because how many times have we reorganized personnel, not just there or in any other installations? I would be writing a letter to every minister.
The Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i now says there is need to enact laws to govern the numbers and limit of security officers deployed to VVIPs and VIPs in the country. Reporting for Prime Edition, I'm Suleiman Yeri.
And in a quick rejoinder, the Office of a Deputy President is accusing Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i of abusing the power of his office to score cheap points in a futile attempt for political propaganda. A statement signed by the Communication Director in the Office of the Deputy President, David Mugonyi, in reference to the dossier tabled by Dr. Fred Matiang'i when he appeared before the National Assembly Security Committee, says Dr. Matiang'i has attempted to profile the Deputy President as ineligible to receive service from the Ministry of Interior. The statement further says by singling out the Deputy President and casting adverse attention to his security arrangements amounted to potentially exposing him to security threats. Noting that the Deputy President is ready to undergo a lifestyle audit, Mugonyi said the statement given to the committee was erroneous, and Dr. Matiang'i used the privilege of Parliament as a forum to propagate malicious and assault the dignity of institution by publishing inaccurate data purporting to be properly interest and security deployment to the same. Now we take this forward and head over to Ruai, and Ruai Family Hospital will remain operational but will not offer COVID-19 vaccination services. The Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council Disciplinary and Ethics Committee reinstated the institution's operational license on Wednesday. The hospital's license was revoked on Tuesday following its contravention of requisite regulations regarding the administration of the COVID-19 vaccine. Purity Museo with the details.
After a day-long meeting between the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentist Council Disciplinary and Ethics Committee and the Ruai Family Hospital's management, the final judgment was finally ready.
Ruai Family Hospital be and is hereby suspended as COVID-19 vaccination center. This matter of vaccines be referred to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations in the matter in which Ruth Mutitika and MS Caroline Kinyanjui removed COVID-19 vaccines from Ruai Family Hospital.
The decision was arrived at after the council found the hospital guilty of issuing over 100 doses of Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine to a private facility through an unqualified healthcare worker.
Ruth Mutitika admitted to taking 144 doses of the COVID-19 vaccines and handed them over to Miss Caroline Kinyanjui, the alleged business manager, outside the hospital premises on the evening of Friday, 27th August 2021.
KMPDC CEO Dr. Daniel Yumbia regretting that the council was unable to ascertain the validity of the jabs administered to the public.
Ruai Family Hospital was issued with 320 doses of COVID-19 on the 27th of August 2021. These vaccines were issued to Ruth Mutitika, KRACH nurse, who is a healthcare manager at the hospital and in charge of the COVID-19 vaccines.
However, the council has reinstated the hospital's operational license, with the CEO saying it was for the public's good.
Order to close the facility within 24 hours made through our letter reference that 1st August 2021 dated that reference number KMPDC LD GF08 that one is hereby vacated, and the operating license of Ruai Specialist Hospital is hereby reinstated. Nurse Ruth Muthoni Mutitika be referred to the Nursing Council of Kenya for disciplinary action.
We welcome the verdict that has been given, revoking the suspension that had been earlier put in closure in the interest of the public, and we are very welcome to this judgment, and we thank the board for having been very objective in handling this matter.
On Tuesday, the Kenya Medical and Dentist Board Council revoked the license of Ruai Family Hospital in Nairobi following claims of diverting vaccines to other unauthorized premises. Purity Museo, Prime Edition.
Still staying with COVID-19, Kenya has recorded another 1,018 cases of COVID-19 out of 9,347 samples screened in the last 24 hours. The new figures represent a positivity rate of 10.9%. In the latest data released by the Ministry of Health, 13 more deaths have been recorded, all of them from late audits conducted in August. The death toll now stands at 4,739. As at 31st of August, a total of 2,792,309 vaccines had been administered. Globally, over 218 million cases have been reported, with the number of fatalities standing at slightly over 4.5 million. This is according to data from Johns Hopkins University. Now from COVID to matters education. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha says lack of school uniform should not hinder students in day schools from reporting. Professor Magoha says all Form 1 students in day schools must report to school with or without uniform. The Cabinet Secretary spoke as he led a door-to-door campaign in search of learners in Nairobi who are yet to report to school. Have a look.
Wednesday morning, Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha led a multi-sectoral team on a door-to-door campaign to mop out learners within Kawangware, Dagoretti, Kangemi and formal settlements in Nairobi County to find out the 2020 KCPE candidates who have yet to join Form 1. The exercise mainly targeting 3 girls admitted to Nembu Girls High School and are yet to report.
We are interested in the child. Are you listening? If there's a child at home, we shall make sure that that child goes to school. If the mother becomes an obstacle, situko na polisi na pingo hapa.
Professor Magoha making it clear that school uniform is not mandatory for those reporting to Form 1 in day schools.
If you don't want to go to a day school, we will take you there. Tutakupeleka huko. The only thing that a child needs is a uniform. And I'm saying where we are reaching now, if a child has no uniform, let the teachers take the child.
According to the CS, 75% of the schools in the country are day with enough teachers and facilities, and no child should be left behind.
If you identify a child who is genuinely needy and requires to be assisted, and you let us know. But the bottom line is that no parent has capacity to say that the child is not going to school and there is a day school around there which is within 3-kilometer radius.
Professor Magoha urging Kenyans to notify his office of any child yet to report to school.
And now the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission and the Teacher Service Commission will now be duly constituted or fully constituted after the National Assembly approved nominees for the positions of members in a special sitting convened on Wednesday by MPs, where they endorsed 4 nominees to serve as commissioners of the electoral body and 5 candidates as members of the teachers' employer.
After holding approval meetings to consider the nomination of Juliana Cherera, Francis Madenge Wanderi, Irene Cherop Masit, and Justus Abonyo Nyanganya as commissioners of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, the National Assembly Justice and Legal Affairs Committee returned to the August House with a verdict. The recommendations to have the 4 join the electoral body to make it duly constituted, receiving the backing of MPs,
All of them assured us that indeed they may understand in some situations why people may want to resign, but as patriots, they would never leave the country and the people of Kenya in the kind of lurch that we saw in 2017.
Legislators urging the incoming commissioners to put the country first as they fulfill their mandate.
The process leading to the election is as important for the integrity of the election as the actual voting and the declaration of results. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, there should be as much transparency as possible.
You don't put, if you're a commissioner, don't put the country into a crisis. You must uphold and protect the position given to you by the Constitution.
At the same time, the National Assembly also gave 5 candidates a thumbs up to serve as members of the Teacher Service Commission. In its recommendations, the Education and Research Committee noted Nicodemus Ojuma Anyang, Christine Kahindi, Sharon Chelagat Kisire, Anseta Wafuko and Salesa Adano Abudo had exhibited skills and capacity required for the positions.
When you look through all the others, you see people who have a passion for academia. You see the research they've done. You see the qualifications, the journals they've written. And it just shows you that basically the future of the Teacher Service Commission is progressively getting into the right hands.
And when I look at the CV of the commissioners, Mr. Speaker, I have no doubt they have what it takes. I've seen majority of them, Mr. Speaker, have expertise on matters of education. But as we move forward, Mr. Speaker, the critical matter is human resource management.
All right, and clearly the IBC is now fully constituted. Once President Uhuru Kenyatta has appointed the 4 of them, and that is it. The commission is fully constituted.
Yeah, and the TSC as well. Now, they can now fully embark on their mandate as they are fully constituted. We're going to be taking a very short break, but there is still more lined up for you. Remember, Karen Kibet will be coming in later with the latest in the world of sports. But before that, we also have a very important conversation that will be happening here in studio. Kioria.
All right, on matters in security and what is happening in Laikipia, the Member of Parliament for Laikipia North, Sarah Korere, is a guest tonight.
Marathon runners have a long way to go under this hot July sun. 26 miles, 385 yards. The marathon runners are out in the country now. Bunched together, they gather strength from each other.
The excitement of the Olympic Games doesn't just stop there, as the biggest para-sports event, the 2020 Paralympic Games, gets underway from the 24th of August to the 5th of September in Tokyo, Japan. So, get ready to be inspired by these sportsmen and women with outstanding abilities, and look out for Team Kenya too in their quest for glory by watching all the highlights daily on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. We move on now. Property worth millions of shillings was reduced to ashes in Blue Estate, Nairobi County on Wednesday afternoon. The cause of the inferno has not yet been established, with investigations ongoing to unravel the mystery of frequent fire incidents in the area. Residents affected are now appealing to the county government for assistance. Timothy Kipnusu with that story.
The aftermath of a Wednesday afternoon fire that gutted down a section of Blue Estate area in Nairobi County. Angry residents pouring out their frustrations after the destructive incident, accusing the Nairobi County firefighters of slow response.
So nimelost vitu zangu, kuna kitanda, mattress na vitu za nyumba zote, hata TV. Tungependa serikali tusaidie kudhibiti mkasa wa moto. Hatujuangi ni nini hasa huwa inasababisha, lakini wakati mgumu kwa hii janga la moto vile imetuadhiri.
Jen Mura, a trader in the area, broke into tears, saying she has lost everything.
Hapo siwezi sema, hata sina nguvu. Juzi tu ndo tumeanza kununulia watoto tena uniform, kila kitu imepotea. Nilikuwa kwa nyumba, jirani akaniita, akaniambia Branis, unachomeka. Nikitoka nje, tukajaribu kutoka na maji, tuone kama tunaweza zima moto. But moto ikatuzidi, tumetoka tu hivi vile tuko, tumepoteza kila kitu.
According to the Nyumba Kumi chairman Anthony Mwema, the incident is happening just 2 weeks after another fire broke out in the same area.
Tulikuwa na mkubwa wetu Adio hapa, alikuwa anajaribu kuangalia adhari za moto ile nyingine ilikuwa hapa juzi, ambayo ilichoma manyumba takriban 46 na ikachomeka kabisa, ikateketea.
The however refuted claim the latest incident was a result of a row between the landlords and the tenants.
Hakuna kitu kama kimeonekana kama kuna uhasama ama kuna mvutano. Hawa wananchi hapa wanaweza kuambia na kukwambia ukweli. Sisi huwa tunaishi kwa ushirikiano mzuri sana.
It is the wrath of residents of Blue Estate here in Nairobi after fire gutted down properties worth millions of shillings, with residents calling for the county government of Nairobi to get a lasting solution to the cases of fire that has been happening in this particular area. Timothy Kipnusu, Prime Edition, Nairobi.
Thank you, Kipnusu, for that report. A really unfortunate turn of events. We hope that help will come their way soon so that they can return to normal. Now, along the corridors of justice, the bodies of the two Kianjo brothers who died in unclear circumstances while in police custody will not be exhumed. This is after the High Court declined an application by 6 police officers linked to the deaths to have the bodies exhumed for an independent post-mortem to ascertain the cause of the deaths. The 6 officers are expected to be charged with murder on Thursday.
The bodies of Benson Njiru and Emmanuel Mutura will not be exhumed after all. The High Court declined an appeal by the 6 police officers held in connection to their deaths to have the bodies exhumed and have an independent inquest conducted. The Independent Policing Oversight Authority (IPOA) and the Director of Public Prosecution noted that exhuming the bodies of the 2 brothers will cause untold psychological pain and suffering to the family, who are still mourning.
My Lord, plea taking, if it goes tomorrow, it will greatly prejudice the 6, their jobs, their reputation. They are the darling of the court, and that is why they came, for their fundamental human rights to be protected.
The 6 suspects will be charged on Thursday after the court declined their application to defer murder charges plea. They will be accorded state counsel since their lawyers recused themselves from the matter. Elsewhere, Benson Melonyi Mungai, the main suspect in connection to the murder of 4 young men in Kitengela on August the 6th, will be charged with murder on September the 9th. He is expected to be charged at the Machakos High Court alongside other suspects who were arrested after the incidents. And a Machakos court has issued a warrant of arrest to Machakos County Governor Alfred Mutua for allegedly trespassing in a private property. The governor is alleged to have used graders to destroy a parcel of land belonging to David Gitao and refused to settle a court fine of 5 million shillings. Gitao's lawyer has served the area OCS with the warrant that was issued by the Machakos High Court Deputy Court Registrar.
They have been defying the court house. I did not defy, and the court decided to give them another chance and asked me to ask us, the lawyers, Nyangito, appearing for my client, the petitioner, to serve him again, and which professionally we served. The OCS has received the order from the Honorable Court, and of which now is going to act and effect immediate arrest of the governor.
For Prime Edition, I'm Ben Troinjua.
All right, exactly 100 days ago tomorrow, Kenya made history when it swore in the first ever woman Chief Justice. How is Justice Martha Koome's journey so far at the helm of the country's judiciary? In our bulletins tomorrow, we bring you a one-on-one interview with Lady Chief Justice Martha Koome. It is something to look forward to. Don't miss that. And talking about ladies of power who beat the odds to lead in this country, in studio we have Mheshimiwa Sarah Korere. She's on the other side of the studio with John Jacob Kioria. I'll just be handing it over to you, Kioria, just to take it away and tell us more about what the great lady has to say concerning matter security and even her own journey as a leader in her community.
All right, thank you very much, Safid. Like you've rightly pointed, a powerful woman, the Member of Parliament for Laikipia North, and probably, if time allows us, she will tell us about her journey, because it's been a treacherous one to becoming the Member of Parliament for Laikipia North. But be sure to catch up again in the conversation with CJ Martha Koome tomorrow in our bulletins. But in the meantime, Sarah Korere is in studio. Mheshimiwa, karibu sana.
Asante.
Hey,
Thank
how are you
you.
doing?
I'm okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Karibu.
Asante.
Let's kick off, with the security situation and the volatility in Laikipia, as it were. Mid-July, the Cabinet Secretary for Interior comes there and orders all illegal herders. I don't know whether they are illegal herders and illegal herders, but all herders that had, invaded ranches in Laikipia County to get out within 7 days. That problem is still persistent.
Yep.
What is the problem?
Well, the problem is, this problem is fueled by many things. And key among them is biting drought that is witnessed up north. Up north, that is Isiolo, Samburu, Marsabit and onwards. But again, there is a lot of political mobilization by people who feel they have to boost their numbers in Laikipia, especially now that we are going, because this problem has been occurring like every time we are 1 year away to the election, we see these kind of things. Droughts are not a new phenomenon in the north, but for the last 4 years it's been reasonably quiet. And again, I will not want to say it's the illegal herders, because herders are herders and they are bandits, the lawbreakers, the criminals. And what we are witnessing in Laikipia is a lot of terrorism by these criminal gangs, because anybody who owns a gun and is not a law enforcement officer, is not a police officer, is not a licensed gun owner, then that's a criminal. And there are a lot of them in Laikipia. And currently the situation has been going from bad to worse.
Tell us, a directive by no other than the Minister for Interior, get out within 7 days. Why hasn't that happened? Is there any action being taken now by the police to flush these people out of these conservancies?
Well, I really don't want to speculate, but as you rightfully put it, it was in July, actually end of July, when Matiang'i came, and immediately left Laikipia. The following day, a man was shot dead in Wangwashi. In cold blood. And I think that was telling the CS that we are here to stay. And it's not just the conservancies, the likes of Laikipia Nature Conservancy. In fact, the small agricultural holdings, the community group ranches are suffering a great deal, because we've had people even destroying crops, we've got people killed. We've lost a lot of law enforcement officers, the National Police Reservists, the citizens of especially Laikipia West and North. So I think the problem is bigger than the conservancies.
As bigger as it is, are there boots on the ground? Because I'm interested, in that order by the Minister for Interior, Dr. Fred Matiang'i. Are there boots on the ground doing the work of, removing these people from ranches and conservancies, bearing in mind the 7 days expired a long time ago?
Actually, since the time Matiang'i came and gave that order, there have fairly been nothing going on in the ground. And I don't know, but I'm told probably in the last 2 days probably there's some kind of mobilization. But again, tension is very, very high.
He was in Parliament today. Did you get a moment with him?
I didn't, honestly, because he was appearing before the Parliamentary Committee on Security on other issues. And just like you saw it on the media, I also saw it on the media. And it is very interesting because he appeared before that committee, very serious with a lot of information. And not once, not twice, personally, I've put statements in Parliament, to inquire from him about the security situation in Laikipia. And you rarely get those moments with the CS. So it's interesting how they rank this security situation in Laikipia.
Obviously, you talk about the problem of pasture with this drought that is there. And up north, there's a big problem in terms of drought. But the minister then also promised that the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock would actually take up some of these herds of cattle and livestock to take them to government abattoirs to relieve the pressure on herders. Has that happened?
Not really.
Okay.
And from where I sit, I think drought is not really a problem in this country because we know that these droughts are always there. And you can almost predict that after a cycle of every 5 years there is a serious drought looming. And from where I sit, I believe if you don't plan, then you are planning to fail. With the devolution, we thought probably counties will sit down and plan, their pastures, invest in putting water, especially in the pastoralist areas. And now that every county has their own monies, they don't have to wait for Nairobi to decide what happens here and what happens there. But that is not happening. And we cannot want to lie to ourselves that Laikipia can accommodate all the livestock from up north. It's not possible.
It is not possible.
And if you look at Laikipia today, the geographic area, the climate, the weather in Laikipia is almost the same as Samburu and Isiolo. So you'll ask yourself a pertinent question: why is there no pastures in Isiolo and Samburu and this pasture in Laikipia? If, for example, you look at Samburu, it is twice as big as Laikipia, in terms of land mass. But, they have overgrazed their land. There are no proper planning of their pastures. There is no range rehabilitation. So what happens if we allowed everybody now to come to Laikipia because there is a serious shortage of pasture? They will also overgraze Laikipia. And before we know, Laikipia will be as bad as Isiolo, Samburu, and elsewhere. So what happens? Where do we move next? Nyeri, Nyandarua,
Quite interesting.
Right.
The place of politics in funding what we are seeing, invasion of ranches, private ranches, group ranches, the place of politics. Tell us about that, because immediately after Dr. Fred Matiang'i left that, and left that order, we saw the likes of, Senator Ledama Olekina trying to throw in some words that probably would encourage these bandits one way or another.
Yes. From where I sit, I think the utterances of Senator Ledama were seriously uncalled for, because Narok and Laikipia are two different places. And if they claim, say, the historical land injustices, we are the people of Laikipia, we are the people that have been seriously affected by the historical land injustices. But if you look at the indigenous Maasai of Laikipia, if you look at the Samburus of Laikipia, if you look at the Pokots who live in Laikipia, they are not causing any mayhem. Right? So this mayhem is mainly coming from outside Laikipia County. Then somebody like Ledama sits in Narok, doesn't understand what is happening in Laikipia, and he's is is uttering words that can actually risk bringing about tribal clashes. It's very unfortunate. And from where I sit, I was trying to follow if anything will be done on Ledama, even if to just stop him or to curtail that kind of utterances. But I didn't see the NCIC summoning him over hate speech, because obviously that was hate speech geared towards other communities. And it's also very unfortunate that Ledama could say such a thing, because I'm not also a stranger to Narok. There are pastoralists in Narok, and people in Narok have sold their land, and we've seen that kind of tribal animosity in Narok. Their land was not taken by the whites, it's not taken by the government of Kenya. They themselves sold their land. What Ledama should be doing is educating his people against selling land, to invest in other things, and not, just poking his nose into things he doesn't understand.
And of course, you mentioned about the one police officer, shot dead by these bandits. There are several other people who've lost their lives in some of these incidents. But interestingly, the Kenya Police Service are no longer working in Laikipia. Is that true?
Well, sometimes back they withdrew all the police reservists, and the police reservists were quite helpful, because number one, they understand the terrain. Number two, their response was quite, they responded in good time, unlike the police, because most of them were living within the communities. And when the police reservists were withdrawn, I think it was something that was done across the country, which was actually misinformed, and Laikipia was exposed to attacks from outside. Because number one, the communities living in Laikipia do not have illegal firearms, but the neighborhoods, they are surrounded by very hostile communities and people who are heavily armed, especially from Tiati, from Samburu East, from Isiolo North. So since the withdrawal of the police reservists, we've seen an upsurge in the attacks towards Laikipia, and we've been agitating, for the restoration of the police reservists, which fortunately, I'm told even yesterday, the police people, the security agencies were revetting, the reservists, those one who are disarmed, with an intention of arming them again. So we will see how that works out.
All right. Yeah. And when you talk about disarmament, because every other single time when there are such attacks and banditry up north, including the Turkana, Pokot, Laikipia, we always hear about government saying we are mopping up these firearms in the hands of private citizens. What happens to the disarmament exercise? Because as soon as government says disarmament is happening, there is almost another attack, succeeding the disarmament.
Well, one thing I can say with a lot of confidence, from where I sit in Laikipia, I have never seen a disarmament happening. But that can partly also be because there are no illegal guns in Laikipia. The communities resident in Laikipia. And every time the government talks about disarmament, now, they talked about a disarmament and disarmed their own security partners, because the National Police Service are security partners with the regular police and other government agencies. So they disarmed their own, whom of course didn't have to be disarmed. It was an order, bring these guns back, and they brought them back. But the fellows, the criminals who are walking up and down the bushes of Laikipia with the illegal firearms, they were not disarmed, right? So it leaves a lot to be desired. What exactly is happening here?
I'm here wondering, to end this problem of Laikipia ranches and banditry, what do we need? Do we need to arrest the political leadership in Laikipia, put them somewhere? Because it appears like there's always a genesis, coming from somewhere.
I'm sure arresting them will not solve the problem. And I can tell you this from where I sit. In 2017, we saw some politicians who are arrested in Laikipia. And for the politicians, that serves as, they whip the emotions of the people, that we are being persecuted because of you. So instead of it working for the government to discipline the people, it's working against the government because it gives the other person, and especially when you arrest somebody, then just release without doing thorough investigations, without pinning them down to what exactly they are doing. I don't really think arresting anybody will solve this issue. But what will solve these issues is putting long-term plans in these communities. Personally, I've tried to do a lot of research as to why this thing is happening, as to why, some young men are willing to just throw their lives away, as in they really don't care about their lives. When you see 14-year-old boys surrounding a GSU camp and engaging them in a, in a shootout, 14 years old, you wonder what motivates them. And the second question that comes to my mind, where do they get the firearms? Right? Where do they get the ammunition? Right? So personally, I've been trying, even in my area, in some places, I've been trying to ask myself, why is this thing happening? And part of what I discovered, which I think if the government, the national government, the county government will take it seriously, it will address this problem, though in its long term. And that is addressing the illiteracy levels among the pastoral communities.
Illiteracy levels among
pastoral communities.
Let me ask you this question very quick, because I'm under pressure to wind up in 1 minute, Mheshimiwa, because I've been present sometimes in instances where you were campaigning in Laikipia, even in the presence of a president, where your rival then, Matthew Lemporkel, would actually angle to embarrass you even in front of the president. How did you beat him in the last elections?
Very interesting.
Very quickly.
How I beat him, I have an agenda for the people of Laikipia, and I had a plan, which I still do have a plan. And mine, I was not, competing with him on, those dirty politics of insults. Actually insulted me thoroughly. Sometimes I would get so embarrassed that my kids will watch these things in social media, and, it was quite embarrassing. But I maintained my cool, and I made sure I didn't get my eyes off my plan. So I worked very hard to, to sell my agenda to the people of Laikipia, to execute my plan, and that's how I beat my
All right. And you're running again in Laikipia North?
Of course, I'm retaining my seat. I'm not actually running, I'm sitting on the seat.
All right. Sarah Korere, the member of parliament for Laikipia North, talking about insecurity up north and Laikipia, the illegal herders or the bandits for that matter, because Mheshimiwa says bandits that are in those ranches. And this is where we put a cap on Extra Mile tonight. Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa, for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Karen Kivet is up next with that's Serfine, Achieng, sorry, with business.
Thank you so much, Kioria, for that wonderful conversation you've had there with Mheshimiwa. Now we move on and focus on what is happening across the counties. The Parliamentary Committee on Constitutional Implementation Oversight is seeking public views on the Constitution Amendment Bill number 40 that proposes that elected members of Parliament, county assembly can be appointed to the executive. Details of this and other stories in our county news wrap.
Speaking after a public participation session in Lokiriama Hall in Turkana Central, Constitutional and Implementation Oversight Committee Chair Jeremiah Kioni said that the views collected will be implemented accordingly.
Constitution Amendment Bill number 40, which is proposing to amend the articles of the Constitution so that elected members of Parliament are appointed into the executive and they become the cabinet ministers.
Meanwhile, a multi-agency task force has directed the Office of the Director of Criminal Investigations to open probe on 2 senior teachers at Thiru Primary School in Laikipia West, where 3 pupils were allegedly tied to a tree as punishment. The task force, led by Nyahururu Sub-County Deputy County Commissioner Moses Muroki, had on Wednesday morning arrived at the school that is located about 15 kilometers from Nyahururu town, where statements were recorded from teachers and students. In the pictures that went viral on social media, 3 pupils are seen tied to a tree in the school compound.
We came here to investigate a case where there was some cruelty which was done to 3 pupils of this primary school, Little Primary School, by teachers as a way of discipline.
We're going to open protection and care file and trace the progress and the recovery of the affected children, so to make sure that the trauma and the humiliation they went through does not reoccur or keep reoccurring and affect their future lives.
What has happened, we are condemning it, and what we are saying is no one has been declared guilty of any offense until the due process, that is the discipline process, has been undertaken.
In other news, 2 suspected mobile phones thieves caught on CCTV camera in Kakamega while on the act are being arraigned in a Kakamega court. However, the 2 denied all charges before Judge Joseph Dururi, who declined to grant them bail in light of threats to the complainant. The suspects are seen on the CCTV cutting away mobile phones from the electronic shop they had broken into. The case will be heard on 19th October this year. Finally, the ongoing efforts by the government to increase forest cover has received a major boost with the Worldwide Fund for Nature moving to create new forests in Lake Naivasha Basin. According to Program Coordinator in Naivasha Landscape, Caroline Jiro, the project will be carried out under the Lake Naivasha Basin Restoration Program.
This is a carbon insetting project funded by Coop Switzerland, and it aims at creating new forests in Naivasha, looking at areas that have been degraded for the last 10 years.
Currently we are having quite a number of industries and factories coming up in the upper catchment. These are timber factories, milk processing plants, food processing plants, specifically potatoes. And these industries and factories are really using so many types of chemicals to process their products.
Endelea ni kama hatuko hapa.
Being together is dangerous. He tried to rape me. He is my father's enemy.
Over my dead body.
Quiero amarte de una forma diferente, de otro modo.
You're so happy because you're not thinking. Do you not realize that the case of Horatio is still wide open? They'll keep investigating till the guilty person is found.
Let go of me, Lucio. Let me go!
As we all know, this new product is one more source of pride for the company, of which henceforth I am the president. You're mistaken, Cesar.
Quiero amarte de una forma diferente, de otro modo. Nunca igual al de otra gente.
Thank you for staying with us. I'll be standing in for the business news tonight. Now let's kickstart this. Coffee traders are petitioning Parliament to compel the Nairobi Coffee Exchange to admit all duly licensed brokerage firms appointed by the Capital Markets Authority. The National Coffee Cooperative Federation of Kenya says policy pronouncements by Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya on coffee marketing are causing confusion and Parliament should revoke them.
There have been a row between Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya and the Capital Markets Authority over regulation of coffee marketing. The Coffee General Regulations of 2019 and Capital Markets Coffee Exchange Regulations of 2020 mandates the Capital Markets Authority to regulate coffee trading. However, Munya is of the opinion that CMA should not be involved in coffee marketing, rather restrict themselves to regulation of trading of stocks.
So there is nowhere in the law where CMA has been given mandate to license auctions. Then they should even license Ukulima market as an auction. Let them concentrate on stock markets and the capital markets.
The National Coffee Cooperative Federation of Kenya have waded in, petitioning Parliament to help end this stalemate by revoking on policy pronouncement by the Agriculture Cabinet Secretary, such as mandating AFA to regulate all coffee traders.
And so their prayer is that this should be, marketing licenses should be revoked. And so coffee, the general rules from 202 or any legal rules extending the operation to be cancelled.
They say even though CMA licensed 5 traders, the Nairobi Coffee Exchange auction has rejected their request for admission, citing Legal Notice 104 and clearance from the Agriculture Cabinet Secretary.
The topmost activity was going to the Nairobi Coffee Exchange, which we have not been able. We have gone through other areas. We have got the marketing licenses through the Capital Market Authority, but we have not been able to do that.
The Federation wants the Nairobi Coffee Exchange to immediately appoint direct settlement system provider to facilitate coffee trading. Benson Rioba reporting for Prime Edition.
President Uhuru Kenyatta on Wednesday at State House, Nairobi, held talks with Citigroup Chief Executive Officer Jane Fraser, who paid him a courtesy visit. President Kenyatta and Fraser discussed a wide array of subjects, among them Kenya's partnership with Citigroup in post-COVID economic recovery. And moving on, digital lending platforms have vowed to reduce lending rates if the government allows them to list loan defaulters with the credit reference bureaus. This is according to the latest survey by Real Analytics that also indicates that data privacy is the least of worries for borrowers who are mostly concerned about efficiency of disbursement of the cost of the loans.
Digital lenders have been voicing concerns since the central bank announced a policy directive denying them the right to list loan defaulters with the credit reference bureaus. While announcing the decision, the central bank voiced concern that the digital lenders were using cruel methods to recover cash from borrowers. Digital lenders, however, insist listing loan defaulters with the credit reference bureaus would de-risk loans and reduce the cost of loans.
Denying these digital lenders access to this platform to get more information on the borrowers makes that product more risky. The resultant effect of this was that those who did take on loans suffered a higher risk premium, which then translated into higher interest and fees that they were charged.
This, as a survey by Real Analytics on digital lending, shows that most borrowers are less concerned with their data privacy when borrowing, though a growing number of customers are concerned about threats by digital lenders when collecting their loans.
That they're keen to have their privacy protected, but it was not a big issue. In terms of ranking of the issues, it was one of the lower issues.
The survey shows that most digital lending customers were aged between 30 and 38 years and also constituted the largest percentage of defaulters. Customers aged 35 years and above borrowed money to invest in business, while those below 35 years borrowed for personal use.
Now again, you must look at it between different age groups. So amongst the youth, it was immediate needs. Amongst the over 35s, it was mostly business needs.
Women were the most likely to service their loans as compared to males, who also use multiple digital lending platforms. Benson Rioba reporting for Prime Edition.
get control your thinking as your skiza tune, dial *811*961#.
Did you know that you have complete control over everything that surrounds you? Yes. Fully control over all that comes out of the seas, the earth, and the universe. That control is your thinking. Good thoughts bear good fruits, but bad thoughts will always bear bad fruits. Control your thinking.
To get control your thinking as your skiza tune, dial *811*961#. *811*961#.
I do hope your evening is treating you well. It's now time for us to get a little bit sporty. My name is Karen Kibet. Now, national soccer team Harambee Stars will play Uganda Cranes in their first group match of the 2022 World Cup qualifiers. The match will be played behind closed doors tomorrow afternoon, but will be televised live on KBC Channel 1 from 4 p.m. The 2022 World Cup finals will be played in Qatar.
Football Kenya Federation President Nick Mwendwa says they are on a mission to see national soccer team Harambee Stars qualify for the World Cup for the first time in their history. Stars begin their campaign at home against Uganda Cranes tomorrow afternoon, hoping to secure 3 points in their first match to redeem themselves after missing on a place at the Africa Cup of Nations. They play Uganda without key players Victor Wanyama, Joash Onyango, Johana Omolo and Ayub Timbe, but boast of key players including Joseph Okumu, Eric Ouma, Michael Olunga and Eric Johana. The match will be played behind closed doors as part of the COVID-19 prevention measures, but will be televised live on KBC Channel 1. Harambee Stars will also play Mali and Rwanda in their group stage of the qualifiers. Meanwhile, national football deaf teams have continued with their preparations ahead of the Africa Deaflympic qualifiers set to be held from the 11th of this month to 25th of this month at the Kasarani Stadium. Final squads will be named later this month before the start of the championship, which will act as qualifiers to the World Championships to be held in Brazil next year.
We have actually formed a deaf national team for the first time, and we actually think that after this event, we would wish that let us not stop there. Let us find a way in which we can involve these boys and even develop more talent, so that by the next time when we be calling for the national team, we'll actually have somewhere to start from.
I feel okay because my objective is to train, and what's important is to ensure that we cooperate as a team, we pass the balls well, and ensure that we beat other countries which come. I don't fear, and I think we can defeat other countries.
16 teams have already confirmed participation in the continental tournament. The event will also include basketball competitions, which is also a qualifier to the world event.
National men's basketball team Morans was eliminated from the ongoing FIBA Afrobasket Championships in Kigali, Rwanda. The team, coached by Liz Mills, was beaten by South Sudan 60-58 in the second qualification round to the quarterfinals. South Sudan advanced to the quarterfinals, where they will take on reigning African champions Tunisia tomorrow.
And gets it over to Bush.
Kenya Morans, coached by Liz Mills, was beaten by South Sudan 60-58 in the second qualification round to the quarterfinals. Even though South Sudan led Kenya by 20 points at the same point, Team Morans never gave up and almost took the lead later in the game.
Kwani, they got to put it up, and they turn it over yet again. Osiro 3-on-1 break. Karanga lays it up. The Morans are not going away.
In their first ever Afrobasket appearance, South Sudan advanced to the quarterfinals, where they will take on reigning African champions Tunisia tomorrow. Frederick Muki for Prime Edition.
The journey to the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar has started in earnest as 40 African nations hunt for the 5 exclusive slots. Kenya's Harambee Stars will kick off their campaign against the Uganda Cranes this Thursday, the 2nd of September 2021 at the Nyayo National Stadium. Watch the mouth-watering East Africa Group E derby live on KBC Channel 1 from 4 p.m. Great expectations on the amazing road to Qatar. And that's how we end our sports bulletin today. Do have yourself a good night. My name is Karen Kibet.
All right, and on that sporty note, it's also our time to wrap up right here. Thank you so much for creating time to catch the latest on this broadcast. It's always a pleasure to do this for you. My name is Serfine Achieng Ouma.
And my name is John Jacob Kioria. Have a fantastic night. We'll see you on Sunday at the Sunday Express.
College. Vera Beauty and Fashion College, with branches in Nairobi, Eldoret, Thika and Meru. Did you know that we are a TVET approved institution? We offer courses in fashion design, interior design in soft furnishing, event decoration, flower arrangement, event planning, hairdressing, barbering and dreadlocks, beauty therapy, makeup, nail technology, spa massages, teaching skills, TOT, solo business management, and many more. Register now and visit our website on www.verabeautycollege.com. You can also call on 0725-923-550 Nairobi branch, 0728-087-689 Eldoret branch, 0722-227428 Thika branch, 0725-000-706 Meru branch. Vera Beauty and Fashion College, a TVET approved institution.
Being together is dangerous. He tried to rape me. He is my father's enemy.
Over my dead body.
Quiero amarte de una forma diferente, de otro modo.
You're so happy because you're not thinking. Do you not realize that the case of Horasho is still wide open? They'll keep investigating till the guilty person is found.
Let go of me, Lucio. Let me go!
As we all know, this new product is one more source of pride for the company, of which henceforth I am the president. You're mistaken, Cesar.
Quiero amarte de una forma diferente, de otro modo. Nunca igual al de otra gente.
Uliniona?
Ukiusa? Abana.
Thank you very much. Sina swali lingine. You can get out, please.
Mimi na hata hatujuani. Ninaingilia wapi?
Kusema kweli mheshimiwa. Huyo mimi simjui hata nilikuta nilimwonea tu police station. I don't know her. Kuna mahali uliniachia mtoto wewe? Hapana. Thank you very much. Unafanya ni unaleta kielele hapa ya nini?
Si wewe uko na wivu na baby face.
Exactly. Kila mtu ananiita baby face. Wewe ndio unaniambia namna gani? Mimi sina competition na mtu.
وانا مالي فياش اش عليا مني
ambaye amevaa hijabu huheshimiwa na huepuka vitimbi ambavyo wanafanyiwa wanawake wasiokuwa na stara.
Pia hakuna awezaye kumkabili kwa maneno ambayo kwamba ni machafu labda au maudhi, kwani anafahamu wazi kwamba mwanamke huyo ameshikamana na dini yake na vile vile anaheshimu utu wake.
Really?
Yeah, we're superheroes, all right.
We're getting the kids out the door on time.
We have mortgages.
Yeah, that's a rough deal, mate.
We get married. We met on a blind date.
We can laugh at ourselves too.
So are the pedestals or not?
And the pity tolerated.
Only when you see us.
Can we all break down these barriers
that keep us apart?
Coming up, it's back to the track in wet conditions in the Olympic Stadium. A chance to get out on the road again after the time trial. It's the road race. The five-a-side football gets to the knockout stages after the end of the group stage. Well, stunning conditions across Tokyo. It had been. That wasn't the case once the athletes were ready for track and field. A glittering array of Paralympic talent went in search of glory in difficult conditions. In the women's 100-metre T13 final for the visually impaired, it was the Spaniard emerging talent, Ratu Iglesias Fornero, who proved exactly why she's a two-time European champion at 100 and 400 metres. Silvers at the Dubai 2019 Worlds, but now a Paralympic champion at her debut games. A stunning result for Fornero. On the 100 metres T47, three Africans sadly failed to reach the 100-metre final. Joanna Pretorius of South Africa, along with Roma of Uganda, as well as Ed Milsa Governo of Mozambique. All ran personal bets, yet despite missing out, it's been a wonderful experience.
I'm very happy. It's the pleasure to stay in the Paralympic Games, and yeah, it's a pleasure. Tokyo is very nice. The temperature is normal for me because my competition in Mozambique, I training with the temperature.
A 200 and 400 world champion, Andrin Ware of South Africa, was hoping to add to her 400-metre T47 title she'd won on Saturday when she beat Lisbela Vera Andrade, her rival, hopefully in the 100-metre final.
Yeah, really great. Like I've previously said in all my interviews that for me it's really just a gift to be here and running with God every single step, and I'm really happy with how the race looked and how it felt, and I'm happy that when I looked at the clock it was a really good time as well, but I came here and I came with one purpose, is to use the gift he's given me and to run with him, and I really enjoyed it, yes, and I'm quite excited to see what the other heat does, and hopefully that will put me in the final tonight, that I have another opportunity to race again.
Sadly, Wares failed to make the final as her hopes were washed away in the torrential rain, yet to earn a major 100-metre medal. Instead, it turned out to be a pulsating race between game debutants. Deja Young of the United States, the 100 and 200 Rio champion, wasn't to have deja vu in Tokyo. Bronze on this occasion for the two-time former world champion. Instead, it was Lisbela Vera Andrade and Brittany Mason. The American world 100-metre champion, though, thought she had it. But the 19-year-old Venezuelan, two times bronze in Dubai, but fourth in the 100 metres, beaten by the American. This time Andrade would get it on the photo finish. A long wait, but winning by 1,000th of a second. So victory and gold for the Venezuelan. Despite not reaching the final, Wales convinced about the value of the games.
The question was, is it really worth it to come to